The media do not want you to know this, but the far left and the far right have a lot more in common with each other than they'd like you to think. The idea is something called horseshoe theory, which basically brings the horseshoe metaphor and says that the far left and the far right are two ends of the horseshoe and are actually at closer distances together than the middle would be to the right or the left. So that means although they seemingly have completely opposing views and opposing values and ideals, the left and the right do have something in common still. What both sides are basically doing is looking at the same system, the same experience of reality, and pointing at something very different as the reason for that problem. But regardless of that, they both have a problem with the system. Call it capitalism, consumerism, materialism, dualism, neoliberalism, whatever you want to call it, everyone has a problem with it. And it comes down to one, the corporation owns the state and the individual, and the other side says that the corporation and the state is controlling the individual, left and right, to an extent. And the media's goal and the government's goal at the moment is to stir as much polarising hatred between each of the sides, so much so that they don't realise that they're actually angry at the same system at the same time, and they have so much more in common than they'd like to think, because they're angry at each other because they don't know. I hate the left, I hate the right, the liberal left and the woke left and the far right nationalists, all of this stuff. But actually, they're both angry at the same system, the same capitalist system that is causing the problems, the same political system that is causing the problems. And so what the system does is it pushes people to either the furthest extent of the left and the right and polarises them, or it homogenises and it wears you down so much that you actually start to believe the lies that you're being fed and the news and mainstream media all the time. And so you get homogenized down into the centre. And the centre isn't an opinionless place, it's a managed place. It's a place that governments and corporations want you to be because you're manageable, you're pliable, you can be moved and bent, and you're a bit easier to manipulate. Whereas the ones on the left and the right, they are incensed, they are enraged, they are switched on to something that they have locked and seen. And that's why they've got the blinkers on and they can't understand each other, because they're looking at the same problem but in completely different lights. But regardless, the same problem. Hence why they're actually closer to each other than the person in the middle is, because they're still talking about the same thing, just in different ways. And that horseshoe isn't a problem per se. I think, in fact, if anything, it's a good thing. It shows that people are more connected to each other than they'd even like to think or believe. And that means that we need to switch on to that and appreciate that and realise that different opinions aren't a bad thing, that debate is a good thing, and we need proportional representation, ideally, so that we can actually all get a say and a fair say in government and different things like that, and just improve education and awareness so that we're able to actually have conversations, share opinions freely with free speech, no fear of repercussions because everyone's got an opinion, and see what happens. But that's an ideal world. And also we do need to be very aware that government, corporations, brands, media, all of that, they actively want us to homogenise, like I said, or polarise. It's one of the two. They don't want us, they want us passive. They want us passive. And that's why protest laws have been eroded over the years. That's why human rights are kind of going out the window in some respects. And it's only going to increase because they don't want that. They don't want uncontrollable, unpredictable population. They want manageable, pliable, and passive.